this is what we're doing. If you want to get part of the mentorship program, it's $10,000. You have to email me and we have to have some conversations. Below is the best deal for you is the Kingdom package, which is $3,000. I suggest that you get on the payment plan. Why? If you do the work, you'll start making money within 60 to 90 days. 60 to 90 days. So, also, let's talk about that. If you're not willing to do the work, don't sign up for it because it's going to be a lot of work. You'll be working 7 days a week. And if that's something that scares you, just save us both a lot of trouble and don't sign up for it. Also, we got a lot of stuff. One of the things I'm going to do probably tomorrow is give everyone access to Passionate Friday courses. There's nothing there. The book, Dating the Woman You Want to Marry, that's done. You'll get that and more. Okay, all the links are below. So let's talk about why I'm getting so much pushback because of the videos that I put out about Sain. I mean, they're coming back. Now, I have mathematically proven that Sain would be better off taking his $10 million and buying an apartment complex. He would get depreciation, he would get growth. But once again, Sain makes so much money from his business, he doesn't care. And for a lot of reasons, you guys just don't seem to be hip to that. You just like, well, what I believe is you're clinging to this hope that you can start with a $500 portfolio and build it up to millions. Let me introduce Keith Gill, Roaring Kitty. Keith Gill was the centerpiece of the GameStop, and Keith Gill started with $53,000. He did not start off with $500. He started off with $53,000. So your position size is way off mark, way off mark. And you're not the next Keith Gill. Keith Gill is a statistical anomaly. This isn't normal. And Keith actually withdrew some serious drawdowns, and he held his position firmly. But there are many of you who feel that you could replicate this because Keith Gill, Roaring Kitty, did it. I'm here to tell you, you can't. And this is one of the things. Years and years ago, I had someone who's like, I need to start doing online courses. And I was like, go right ahead. Come to my world. You think creating a course and selling it is easy? This is one of the things that creates a big, big problem for the black community. Everyone is looking for a shortcut, a hack, and no one wants to fucking do the work. This is the big ass problem. Like literally, you get in my program, you'll be working 7 days a week. And that's scared. It's like, whoa, I'm looking for a hack. Here's the thing. You work 7 days a week for 6 months to a year, and you change the trajectory of the rest of your life. Not a big ask, but once again, a lot of you motherfuckers are fucking lazy. A lot of you don't have any money. A lot of you don't know how to save money. And a lot of you rather believe someone like Sain in this future position that you could go ahead and start off with $500 and build a massively large portfolio with time and executing the right trades. And this is the thing. For this to work for you, you have to consistently execute the right trade. Someone said Sain does not talk about losses in the market. If you're in the market as a trader, you will have losses. This is just normal. You know, if you're like winning 80% of the time and losing 20% of the time, that's an extremely good ratio. But he doesn't talk about losses. And, you know, the more that I get information from Chris is perpetrating a fraud. Number one, he's got this $10 million locked up in dividend stock, which doesn't really produce the high yield, in my opinion. I mean, $500,000 for $10 million. Let me explain something to you. I made $3 million in 1 year, and I had zero invested. I had to work. I had to create. I had maybe 5,000 invested to make 3 million. So when I look at Chris and I look at these other people with this stock option stuff, I have to sit back and ask myself, it goes to the do nothing side of you. It goes to that side where you don't want to do nothing. You feel that you can stay at home, get on your keyboard, make a few trades, and get rich. It's not not going to happen. But again, this is why so many of you, like literally, I wake up, there's comments like, oh, Chris started the education. The whole gist of this thing is Chris has told you that you could take a small capital investment and turn it into a large dividend. And for most of you, it is not true. There may be 1 or 2% who are able to pull this off, but 99% of you will lose. You will lose money, you will blow up your accounts, you will have all kinds of stuff. Because Keith Gill, I did a little research on him. Dude went through some stuff. He did some terrible drawdowns, and he kept focusing on the stock. He stayed there, and he won. But let's talk about Keith Gill, Roaring Kitty. Mentally, this man is extremely tough. Mentally, to sit there and watch your portfolio crash and to stick with it and to stay with it, that takes a high level of mental strength. He did not fade. He did not go crazy. He stuck to his course, and he won. Now, let me go ahead and put this in your ear. Let's say you're positioned at $3 million, and you see you lose $2.5 million in one day. Are you going to stick with your trades, or are you going to move on to something else? Most of you are going to move on to something else. Most of you not will stay in that trade. You just won't, because you're not mentally fucking tough. And this is one of the things. Like, you know, people were talking about, I need to create an online course because I made it look easy. And this is y'all got to get the fuck away from this. It looks easy. I can do it. I can make all this money. Here in Atlanta, a lot of women got scammed out of $25,000 for some real estate training because they were looking for an easy way to get in real estate. And they lost money and they got robbed of their investments. But once again, if you are willing to sit down and do the work, and let me go ahead and explain. The AI income course is going to take you weeks to go through. Weeks. And this is not something you can fast forward or pause. It's going to take you weeks to go through this. And then we're going to get into corporate citizen V2. And that's going to take a little time. First, you got to create your holding company. Then after you create your holding company and it's up and running, then you create your operating companies. This takes time and effort. You're not going to start making money instantaneously. But once again, the Sain crew, you guys are kissing Chris's ass because you think that you can make all of this money with a low capital investment. And you just simply cannot. And I have pointed out, and I use math, Chris would do better with an apartment complex to the tune of $4.5 million a year than he does from dividend stock. Now, why isn't Chris invested in an apartment complex? I have a few theories. Number one, Chris has to keep this narrative going. I'm about stocks. I'm about investing. Everything I do and look has to be about stocks. I cannot go out and buy an apartment complex because they'll begin to understand that a lot of the bullshit that I'm telling them isn't true. Now, once again, with Chris, you know, a lot of people say he helps people and all this other stuff. All right, I've had comment after comment. It's like, my answer was, how much money did you make? No response. How much money did you make? No response at all. Because they're not making any money. They're wedded to this false narrative that they could somehow take a little bit of money and create a large dividend outcome. And this makes them fucking stupid. Yeah, I said that. I'm not going to mince my words. You're fucking stupid if you think you turn $500 into multiple millions of dollars in a short period of time. Number one, your capital allocation is too small. Number two, you don't have the skill sets. Number three, you don't have the patience. Number four, you don't have the training. Number five, you cannot play this game at a high level because you're not used to playing the game at a high level. So essentially, you put yourself in a position where you feel, once again, you feel that you can do well with no proof, no concept, no money. This is why I say you're a fucking dumbass, because there's no proof, there's no money, but you're still like, I can go ahead and build me this portfolio, I can get this large games, and you've been telling yourself that shit for years. Yet you have no money, but you're wedded to it because Starting a business scares the shit out of you. But once again, to play in this game of investing, and with Roaring Kitty, he did options. He did a lot of complicated stuff. He has a YouTube channel, Roaring Kitty, 1,000,000 subscribers. And the guy is somewhat elusive. He's very hard to get a hold of. And once again, I believe his top position at one point was 48 million from a $53,000 capital outlay, which is freaking fantastic. But let me go ahead and say, you are not going to do that. You're not. Number one, you don't have the mental discipline. You don't have the discipline to deal with the drawdowns. Not to mention, Keith is a really smart guy. He practiced, he studied, and he looked at this, and GameStop was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That's another thing. GameStops don't come along every day. That was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him to manipulate that stock. So there is not another GameStop that I'm aware of at the moment. So once again, all of you dumbasses who are coming to the channel talking about, Chris, help me, Chris. And I asked this one simple question. How much money you make? Not one fucking answer. Because you're not making any money. And this is why I say you're stupid. You have no evidence, no proof, no money, but you're going to cling to that because it makes you feel good about not doing shit. And that's the whole deal. That's the whole deal. Because I may reach out to Keith. I don't know if I'll be able to get him because he's kind of elusive. But essentially, many of you feel that you can duplicate what he did when he's a statistical anomaly. What he did isn't normal. What he did is extremely rare. But for some reason, you dumbass thinks, oh, he did it, I can do it too. While I'm hanging out with Big Booty Betty, not working. And this is one of the things that kills you. A lot of you guys don't want to do work. You feel that there's some shortcut. You feel that there's some way for you to get in and not have to work that hard, which once again makes you a complete dumbass. There was periods in my life where I worked 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. And I was making money. But for some reason, when you talk about doing work, prepping yourself, goes over your head. You don't want to do that. And this is what I'm saying. If you don't think you could do the work, don't sign up for the course. Do not sign up for the course. Because there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of things that have to go into it. And for the few people who come to the course and do the work, 90 days from now, they'll be making more money per month than they've ever made in their life. But once again, and I had someone's like, is there a money back guarantee? Which screams, I'm not going to do the work. I'm looking for something easy. I'm looking for something simple. And you know what? There's a money back guarantee. But you got to do the work. You cannot like, hey, I want my money back. You must prove to me that you did the work. Because here's the thing. If you do the work, you will see results. Everyone's not going to have the same results. Everyone's not going to be in the same position. But my goal is to get as many people to $10,000 to $30,000 per month in the next 90 days. And then once I get a bunch of case studies, the price is going to go way up. Because a lot of you are just sitting there, like the folks who have been with me, when have I ever crashed the price of my courses? When did I ever do that? I've never done that. I've never done that. And I'm not going to start doing that. So what's going to happen is the price of the course is going to go way up. And it's going to be worth it. You go ahead and pay like $7,000 for the course, and then 90 days later, you're making $10,000 to $30,000 a month. It's cheap. But once again, many of you are caught up in the Chris Sain bullshit trap. Chris Sain is bullshitting you, making you believe that you can go ahead and... Now, this is the thing with Chris. Chris has such a large capital outlay, even though he doesn't talk about it, he can have losses and weather the storm because next month he gets a large chunk of cash. You don't have that situation. So you go ahead and do Chris's stuff and you lose. You don't have money to reload next month. And this is one of the things that gets me. Everyone claims to be financially literate, right? If you were financially literate, you would know Chris Sain is full of bullshit. And I say that because, yeah, he's a nice guy and all this other stuff. But the reality is, you cannot do what he does because you do not have the capital allocation that he does. You can't. Chris can go ahead and make some investments and lose all his money. Then next month, boom, he reloads. You don't have that. So you have to be extremely careful with your investing, and you have to be on point with your investing. But once again, I call this the dumbass paradigm. I think there's something I can do that's easy and simple, doesn't require me to gauge risk, doesn't require me to work hard, doesn't require me to study, and I can yield these big ass results, right? That's the thing that you guys think you can do with no proof, no evidence, nothing. You just think you could do it because you want to believe into it. Because I'm looking at these then I get called a hater. You know what? If I can prove that someone is lying to you, that makes me a hater, fine. Chris doesn't make the majority of his money from investing. He makes the majority of his money from running a business. And then, I saw something online where he said he and his wife retired. Okay. That rubs me the wrong way. You have a YouTube channel. You have online courses. You have a Patreon. You're working. You're not retired. You're not retired, but it sounds good. But Chris is literally working every day. He's not retired. He definitely has moved into a different position income-wise, but he's not retired. Retirement means that you laying on the beach, not doing anything. And Chris is making videos. He's talking about stuff. He has his courses and stuff. Someone told me he charges $250 per week for his, quote, plays. Well, let's talk about that. We as black folks need to get the fuck away from plays and chasing the bag. That's just stupid shit. You need to develop a strategy to gather income and build something. None of these plays and all this other stuff is going to work. It's just not going to work. And so many of you guys are deep into that, and you are just trying to play this game, and it's just not going to happen. And this is why I'm saying you're fucking dumbasses. You are. If you feel that you could go ahead and take $500 and go ahead and get into some stocks and turn this into a multi-million-dollar play, using Chris's words, in 6 months, you're fucking stupid. You're fucking stupid. And you want to keep with that, and you want to come for me, he's a hater, you sound like a hater. No, I am the truth. I am bringing your stupid ass fucking truth, and you don't want to hear it because you're a fucking dumbass. I don't want you to buy my course. You would be a bad fucking student. I'm not trying to get your business because you would be like terrible because you don't want to do work. You don't want to apply yourself. Don't buy my course because you can't handle it. You just simply can't. So this is one of the big things that is going on, and this is something that a lot of people really need to understand. Let's see. And, I got a lot of people who have never invested in an apartment complex, right? And they keep talking about, how can you talk about something you don't know? I'm going to tell you something. Once I get my income back up, I've not made any money in a year and a half. I've not been working. I've been chilling. I've been doing stuff. But once I get my income up, I'm going to literally, once I get to 6 million in capital reserves, I'm going to buy an apartment complex. This is something I've been researching for months. And that's going to be the first one. So every time I get to 6 million, I'm buying an apartment complex. Why? And it's going to be using leverage. Why? Because I need enough apartment complexes to create enough deficiency where the income is sheltered. Chris Sain, he doesn't talk about that. Anton stupid ass Daniels, he doesn't talk about that. You're just caught up in this bullshit because you think you can just go ahead and get this stuff done and make these large dividends based on fantasy. Freaking fantasy and air. And for one reason, this is why you're going to fail. And this is why 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, you will have no money and you'll be wondering what happened, because you refuse to listen to the truth. You refuse to actually pay attention. You refuse to actually take action. You quit. You just simply refuse. And, once again, to the people like, is there a money back guarantee? If that's going to be your first question, you're telling me that you're not going to do the work. And that means you're going to be a really bad student. And I don't want you signing up for my course. I just don't. Because one of the things I've learned is that when you get bad students, it just corrupts the whole thing. And a lot of you are just bad students because you're hoping to a wish and dreams. And it's just simply not true. All right, that's all I got for you guys. Please let the hate come. Please let the fucked up comments come. Please keep proving how fucking stupid you are.